welcome back to ContraPeso Noticias. Let's start with national news. President Claudia Sheinbaum announced an investment of more than 2 billion pesos to strengthen Mexico's comprehensive sargassum response strategy across the Mexican Caribbean, focused on collecting the sweetest in open waters, shallow coastal areas, and beaches, while also improving its transportation, final disposal, and productive use. The announcement came during the morning press conference alongside Quintana Roo Governor Mara Lezama, members of the federal cabinet, and a representative from the hotel industry. Governor Lezama said his coordinated effort will reinforce protection of the Mexican Caribbean while expanding the region's ability to capture and manage sargassum through a circular economy model designed to give the material new value instead of treating it as waste. She also highlighted that Quintana Roo has strengthened its monitoring system with a state operations center that tracks more than 140 beaches using satellite imagery to participate in the arrival of the macroalgae. As part of the strategy, officials also announced that Cancun will host an international sargassum summit on October 1st and 2nd, bringing together Caribbean nations to strengthen regional cooperation and coordinate solutions to one of the area's most persistent environmental changes. And now, turning to international news. Tension in the Middle East escalated once again after Iran made it clear it has no intention to return to the balance that existed before the conflict. Tehran rejected Oman's proposal to divide the Strait of Hormuz into two navigation lanes carrying equal maritime traffic. Instead, Iran officials demand that vessels pass exclusively through Iranian territorial waters, a condition that signals just how far Tehran intends to extend its control over one of the world's most strategic waterways. The message quickly moved beyond diplomacy. Just hours later, Iran's Revolutionary Guard launched ballistic missiles targeting U.S. forces stationed in Jordan. U.S. Central Command described the strike as an attempted surprise attack, deepening an already dangerous escalation following the collapse of the provisional agreement between Washington and Tehran. Iranian officials left little room for interpretation. Deputy Foreign Minister Qasem Babadi declared that Iran's policy is that the Strait of Hormuz will never return to its pre-war status. Real Almirant Hezbollah Said reinforced that message by stating that no movement through the waterways will take place without Iranian authorization, insisting the Iranian Navy maintain full control of the area. This is no longer simply a disagreement over maritime navigation. Iran is no longer talking about managing a crisis. It is signaling an intention to rewrite the rules governing one of the most critical shipment routes on the planet. And after days of uncertainty, fear, and smoke, thousands of families across Spain and France are slowly beginning to return home. Although the massive wildfires are showing signs of stabilization, officials refuse to declare victory. Temperatures expect to climb above 38 degrees Celsius, continue to keep alive the threat that the flames could flare up once again. In Spain, nearly 24,000 people have already been allowed to return to their homes, while restrictions have also been erased for thousands more. The government says conditions are improving but continue urging maximum caution. The crisis has delivered a painful reminder. A wildfire that is under control is not necessarily a wildfire that has been defeated. France is expecting a similar sense of relief. The flames in Gironde remain established and flare-ups have been contained. Yet extreme heat and dry winds continue forcing emergency crews to remain on constant alert. Nature may offer a temporary break, but it offers no guarantees. Meanwhile, the European Union warns that the danger is simply shifting location. Greece, Italy, and other parts of the continent will soon become the next battleground against the flames. Aircrafts, helicopters, and firefighter crews remain deployed, reminding everyone that behind every water drop are entirely communities hoping to save their homes. Europe is confronting far more than another wildfire season. It is facing the consequences of an increasing extreme climate, where every heat wave returns forests into field and forces thousands to wake each morning hoping the next sunrise do not arrive surrounded by flames. And Bolivia's political crisis has entered yet another chapter after prosecutor issued an arrest warrant for former President Evo Morales, accusing him of crime ranging from terrorism and armed reason against state security to public inciting criminal acts. The decision by prosecutor in Santa Cruz not only deepens the country's political confrontation, but once again placed the former leader at the center of a judicial storm that shows no sign of ending. Authorities accuse Morales of encouraging the demonstration that brought the country to a standstill for 33 days and left 22 people dead. A separate arrest warrant issue in 2024 remains outstanding in another legal case, while police have yet to carry out his detention. From the Chiapas region, where he remains protected by groups of coca-growing farmers, Morales rejected the accusation, calling them political prosecutors intent to divert public attention from Bolivia's economic crisis. However, the lawsuit filed by the Santa Cruz Civic Committee and support by the Ministry of Government argues that the protests cause significant economic losses and disrupt essential public services. The legal offenses also extend to under-essential leaders, creating another source of tension of a government now struggling to balance enforcing the law while honoring agreement reached during the country's pacification efforts. In a nation deeply divided by political polarization, every judicial decision quickly becomes more than a legal matter. It inevitably turns into a political battle with consequences reaching far beyond the courtroom. And Saudi Arabia is trying to maintain a delicate balance between regional conflict and economic development. But reality appears determined to pull the kingdom deeper into confrontation. After months of avowed direct involvement, Riyadh joined the United States in launching coordinated strike against Iran-backed militants in Iraq, blaming them for drone attacks targeting Saudi territory. The question is no longer whether the kingdom can stay in the sidelines, but how much longer it can realistically can. The situation continues growing more complicated. As Iran hardens its position to the Strait of Hormuz, and allied groups extend operations from Iran and Yemen, Saudi Arabia faces simultaneous attacks against its infrastructure, commercial shipping routes, and vital oil industry. Recent strikes on strategic facilities and vessels in the Red Sea demonstrate that the pressure is no longer confined to the battlefield. It is striking at the very core of the kingdom economy. The challenges go far beyond immediate security concerns. Vision 2023 Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman's ambitious plan to diversify the Saudi economy and attack foreign investment depends on stability, confidence, and long-term security. None of those conditions can truly flourish under the constant threat of drones, missiles, and disrupt maritime trade routes. This conflict is no longer just reshaping alliances across the Middle East, it is testing the future itself. Saudi Arabia has tried to transform its economy without abandoning its regional influences. Yet, the growing conflict serves as a reminder that in a region defined by confrontation, even the boldest ambition can become trapped between crossfire and uncertainty. And now, we go to a short break and continue with more Mexico's news. No se olvide que tenemos una cita en punto de las 8 de la mañana y posteriormente a las 9:30 para nuestro noticiero completamente en inglés. Soy Ana Acevedo y no olvide que esto es ContraPeso Noticias.
¿Listo para construir el futuro que deseas? En el Instituto Hispano Jaime Sabines te ofrecemos desde maternal, preescolar, primaria, secundaria, preparatoria, licenciaturas y maestrías. Instituto Hispano Jaime Sabines, formando valores para toda la vida.
Hace Impacto tiene la solución más sencilla y rápida que te puedas imaginar. Olvídate de complicaciones y maquinaria pesada. Con nuestro increíble asfalto en frío, Solo necesitas de 3 herramientas básicas: una escoba para limpiar, un pisón para compactar y una palabra de edición para transformar tus vialidades. Así de fácil, en cuestión de minutos, ese molesto bache que te hacía perder tiempo y arriesgaba tu vehículo desaparecerá para siempre. La calidad duradera que Hace Impacto te ofrece es nuestro mayor compromiso. Queremos que disfrutes de caminos lisos y seguros sin largas esperas ni costosas reparaciones. Es tiempo de experimentar la magia del asfalto en frío de Hace Impacto. Para conocer más sobre esta solución revolucionaria y devolverle la fluidez a tus calles, contáctanos ahora mismo vía WhatsApp al 981-829-0201. Tu camino libre de baches está a un mensaje de distancia.
Soy Monserrat González y te invito a sintonizarnos en punto de las 8 de la mañana porque estamos transmitiendo en vivo a través de Facebook, Instagram y YouTube. Recuerda que nosotros somos ContraPeso Noticias.
En el Instituto Hispano Jaime Sabines acompañamos a tus hijos desde sus primeros pasos hasta su formación como jóvenes responsables y preparados. Aquí se construyen metas, sueños y decisiones importantes. Inscripciones abiertas. Escríbenos al 961-252-6507 o comunícate al 961-604-1541. Desde maternal hasta licenciaturas, maestrías y doctorados, Instituto Hispano Jaime Sabines, formando valores para toda la vida.
Los muebles que tú necesitas para escuelas, oficinas, laboratorios y comercios los encuentras en Giré Muebles. El mejor precio, servicio y calidad es nuestro distintivo. Cotice hoy mismo al 961-2127-068, por WhatsApp al 961-279-4168.
En este noticiero que sabe escuchar, desde la sierra llega el clamor, se alza la noticia como un tambor. Montañas y ríos saben murmurar que lo importante aquí viene a informar.
Ya conoces al Teletón. Tal vez has visitado alguno de nuestros 27 centros. O conoces a alguien a quien le cambió la vida con sus terapias. Quizás conozcas el Hospital Infantil Teletón.
El Instituto Hispano Jaime Sabines cambia de imagen, pero con la misma calidad, seguridad, plan de estudios y la mejor modalidad para que estudies con nosotros, ya que te ofrecemos desde maternal, preescolar, educación primaria, educación secundaria, educación preparatoria, licenciaturas, maestrías y especialidades. Porque en el Instituto Hispano Jaime Sabines construimos las bases de tu futuro, formamos líderes del mañana. Invierte en su...
Hola, mi nombre es Emilia Sánchez Lazos, formo parte del equipo de alianzas estratégicas del CRIT Chiapas y el día de hoy queremos invitarlos a ser parte del programa de crowdfunding Teletón, un programa en el cual puedes ser padrino o madrina de una necesidad específica de uno de nuestros niños en el centro. Actualmente tenemos más de 10 casos activos, desde estudios médicos como exomas hasta andaderas y algunos otros aditamentos que pueden cambiar la vida diaria de nuestros niños. Tu apoyo es lo más especial porque al final serás tú quien entregue el donativo y podrás conocer a la familia de tu ahijado o ahijada. Te invitamos a ser parte de este programa y poder ser el o la heroína de uno de nuestros niños. Para más información, no duden en contactarse con los datos del CRIT Chiapas que estarán apareciendo en pantalla. Muchísimas gracias por ser parte de esta familia Teletón.
Invierte en tu futuro. Terrenos en venta con el clima perfecto, ubicados estratégicamente, con escritura pública. Disfruta del confort de vivir en un lugar tranquilo con acceso rápido a la ciudad. No esperes más, haz de tu sueño una realidad. En Inmobiliaria Roca, más que inmuebles, decisiones con valor.
No se olvide que tenemos una cita en punto de las 8 de la mañana y posteriormente a las 9:30 para nuestro noticiero completamente en inglés. Soy Ana Acevedo y no olvide que esto es ContraPeso Noticias.
Listo para construir el futuro que deseas. En el Instituto Hispano Jaime Sabines te ofrecemos desde maternal, preescolar, primaria, secundaria, preparatoria, licenciaturas y maestrías. Instituto Hispano Jaime Sabines, formando valores para toda la vida.
Hace Impacto tiene la solución más sencilla y rápida que te puedas imaginar. Olvídate de complicaciones y maquinaria pesada. Con nuestro increíble asfalto en frío, solo necesitas de 3 herramientas básicas: una escoba para limpiar.
Of Daphne Zapata not only triggered a criminal investigation, it also forced education authorities to acknowledge a serious oversight that has now reached every institution operating under the levels military or military size. In response, Mexico Ministry of Public Education announced that no school using those designations will be allowed to operate when the 2026 to 2027 academic year begins. The order requires a nationwide review of operating permits and official recognition of studies known as REBOE, while schools that fail to complete will have their activities suspended, face permanent closed proceeding, and be required to immediately return academic records to students along with records for any outstanding payment. Far more than a bureaucratic measure, officials say the objective is to ensure that a tragedy like this is never repeated. According to the ministry, military-style education has no place within Mexico's national education system. Authorities argue that military training belongs exclusively to the armed forces and insist that a new Mexican school model must be built in humanistic values, free from any form of violence, while prioritizing the well-being of children and adolescents. Meanwhile, the investigation into Daphne's death continues under feminicide protocols, with 3 people in custody, including the academic directors and 2 instructors. One question remained impossible to ignore. How many warning signs were missed before a teenager lost her life? And Mexico federal government says the country's economy has regained momentum, but the real challenge is not convincing final markets. It is convincing millions of citizens that economic growth will also improve their everyday life. After quarterly growth of 1.5% and annual gross domestic product growth of 2.1%, the Finance Ministry argued that the country has returned to growth and sustained path of expansion. Finance Secretary Edgar Amador Zamora said the economy outperformed expectations and dismissed more caution forecasts, arguing they were prepared before the latest figure became available. He even suggests that rating agencies such as Fitch will now have to revise their projection forward in response to the economy's stronger than expected performance. The numbers certainly provide reason for government optimism, but macroeconomic indicators always face the same test, providing that growth extends beyond official reports. An economy may perform well on paper, but real success is measured only when that momentum reaches family budgets, strong employment, and creates opportunities people that can actually feel beyond the statistics. And the confrontation between Mexico Institutional Revolutionary Party, or PRI, and the National Electoral Institute has intensified after the INE ruled that PRI national leader Alejandro Moreno can no longer use expressions such as narco-government when referring to Morena. Moreno responded with both a political and a legal offensive, announcing he will challenge the decision while fleeing complaints against the electoral authority in Mexico and before internal bodies. The PRI leader also argued that the ruling could establish a precedent extending far beyond political parties. In this view, journalists and news organizations could eventually face complaints simply for expressing critical opinions about the government, creating an atmosphere of self-censorship that he said is incompatible with a democratic society. As part of the party's response, Moreno announced that the PRI will publish on social media the message originally intended for the INE's official broadcast time and reaffirmed that every available legal avenue will be used to challenge the ruling. He even compared Mexico's situation to countries where, they argue, press freedom has been restricted. Beyond the exchange of political accusations, the dispute once again raised a broader question. How far can electoral authorities regulate political speech without reopening the debate over the boundaries between legally, criticism, and freedom of expression? And that brings us to the end of our national coverage. Thank you for trusting us to keep you informed. Have a wonderful day, and we'll see you soon. Remember, I'm Ana Acevedo, and this is ContraPeso Noticias.